Hello, and welcome to episode 10 of Things I've Learned from Barry Harris. Today I thought we would take a little different approach and talk about something that Barry refers to as his family of dominants. So the way he talks about it is he has this great creation theory that he talks about. He says the chromatic scale, all 12 notes, which then separates or breaks apart into two scales, which are the two whole tone scales. Then from the two whole tone scales, you get three diminishes. And those three diminishes. And all this always equals back to the original 12 notes. Now from the three diminishes is where we get four dominants. And that he refers to as family. So if we take a look on guitar, just for instance, if we take C diminished. Now, how do we find out, he says, what are the four dominants that come out of this diminished? Well, you lower one note a half step, and we're going to find each of the four dominants. The first one, if we lower the C, is a B7, so that's the first dominant. The next one, if we lower it, is to F. That's going to be an F7. The next one is going to be A flat. And the last one is going to be a D7. So there are our four dominants. B7, well, I did it in this order: B7, F7, D7, A flat 7. But if you look at those four notes, what's interesting about them is those four notes also make up a diminished themselves. So if you think about it, C diminished has these four notes in it. So if you stack the C diminished notes with the tonics of the dominants that are all connected, what you get is this. Which is the diminished scale, what some people refer to as half step, whole step. He doesn't like that. Barry usually doesn't refer to it as that because he says then you don't understand where the notes came from. So anyway, that's where his dominants come from, the four family of dominants. So once again, B7, D7, F7, and A flat 7. Now the reason why these are important is when you see an altered dominant chord like a flat 5 or a 13 or a sharp 9 or a flat 9, that's usually because you're using the notes or some of the triad notes from the other dominants. So if you see this chord, or if you hear this type of chord, or this type of chord, or this type of chord, this type of chord, those are all with altered sounds, and the altered sounds all come from those other family of dominants. Now besides that, he says we have to learn how to play with family. So in other words, we have to figure out, let's take D7 for example. Okay, you say, okay, we have to learn how to run D7 into, let's say, F7. So these are the scales, and here's F7. So the next step is to say, well, why would I need to have to run that? So this goes back to Barry's understanding of movement. So what would be the reason to play D7 to F7? So if we're thinking in the key of G major, let's say, the D7 is the 5. So usually before they play 5, they play A minor 7 to D7. Now the reason that you would play F7 is if we played F7's 2, which happens to be C minor, that's the 4 minor. So there's a lot of songs that go from the 2 chord to the 4 minor. So that would be a reason to play D7 into F7. That's the first movement. The second movement, D7 into B7. You say, well, what reason would you use for D7 to go into B7? Well, sometimes a song will play the 2 chord, walk it down, play the 7 to the 3 dominant, go into the relative minor. So that's exactly the reason that you would need D7 running D7 into B7, which happens a lot. The last one is D7 into A flat 7. Why would you need to run D7 into A flat 7? Well, again, if you stayed in the key of G, if we were playing a 2-5 to get back to 1, you could easily run D7 into D's tritone, which is A flat 7, to take you back to G. So that's another reason. Now, we didn't even get to another reason you could play D7 to F7 is F7 is the tritone of B7. So if we were playing a song that went to the relative minor, you could play as that the tritone of the B7. You could play that F7 and run it into E minor. That also happens too. But anyway, let's start looking at a few of these. So D7 into, let's do F7. So let's try D7 into F7. So let's start, let's say on the second of the D7, which is E, we'll put 2 half steps. Or, which is the F7. So if we had 2, 3, 4. So let's try. I ended up on 1. But anyway, that's a reason to go from D7 to F7. Or another one would be, let's say, so that was just coming up a chord from the 5th. And then I'm surrounding what is the tonic of F7, putting in one half step. So. Whatever change it would go to next. So that's a reason to run D7 into, that's another D7 into F7. Now let's do D7 into B7. Let's just put 1 half step. Going into E minor, so let's try again. Into E minor. Let's do 2 no half steps. There's another way to do it. 3 1 half step. Into E minor. Another example of being able to play that. Now let's play a few examples of D7 going into A flat 7. So we'll say so all I did was started on 3, came down 1 half step, and now I went down another half step, which is now I started on the 2nd of the A flat and I came down a chord. So, or I could have gone up, let's say. I like that one. So I walked up, and when I got to the 4 of the D7, I did a triplet between the 7 and the tonic of the A flat. Anyway, so those are just a few brief examples of running D7 into F7, D7 into B7, and D7 into A flat 7. And the importance of it is it's your family of dominants. So Barry always says you have to learn how to play with family first. So if you think about all the different songs, all the different standards that use those kind of movements, so the 2 chord going to the 4 minor, or the 2 chord going to the relative minor, or just playing the tritone of a 5 chord, that's a million movements in a million different songs. So if you get comfortable playing with the dominants that are the family, if you get comfortable playing within the family, there's a lot of songs that you can really tackle the changes to in a really professional sounding way, where you're really playing through the changes as opposed to playing over the changes, playing one long thing over the changes. You're actually playing through the changes. And yeah, it's really important. I mean, actually making these videos, I've started thinking about some of the things, obviously, that I've learned from them. And this thing about the family is so important, was one of the most important things that I learned. And I'm obviously still working on it because it's never ending. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that episode about playing with the family. And enjoy practicing those 4 dominants into each other. So I'm really enjoying these. I hope you guys are too. And leave a comment down below and let me know what you think, or if you have any suggestions for future videos. Anyway, thanks. Enjoy practicing.